Greetings, it is your boy Gartatia. It is a beautiful Monday today. I am here cozy wearing my jeans. I just took me a fresh nap, you feel me? And I am restored and I am ready to take on the rest of the day. Today, I am here with some clarity. I am here with, hoping to offer, some value to people who, have been kind of battling anxiety, who have been battling, understanding the fears that often compel them to stay complacent, their inner limiting beliefs that often usher them into a state of inner conflict, a state of overthinking, a state of low self esteem. What made me come to this conclusion is, just today has just been a low energy day for me. And I just kind of wanted to hack that. I kind of just wanted to, look more into that. And yeah, just, through that, kind of my feeling like that. And actually, what really jump started it, right? So I was at the airport today and, we're off. It's like 1:30. So I'm on my toilet. You know me, I like to squeeze every ounce of productivity out of my life. So I'm taking a shat, you feel me, on the toilet at the airport because we have this, huge lighting project there. We're just checking lighting levels. It's pretty chill, but, we're on our feet all day. So I'm kind of chilling on the toilet. I'm not on TikTok though. I am editing videos, right? And I kind of hear these little feet like pittering pattery outside the stall. I don't really pay attention, and then I hear like bam bam like on the door, like this toddler looks like was trying to like open the door, and I hear his dad like, no, someone's in there, and I kind of make like this little roar like, and the baby kind of like scowls away and runs away. So I go about my business. Me, I'm like on my phone finishing editing, and then like 2 minutes later, I'm editing and I kind of look up and I see the baby like crawling under the bathroom stall, and she just probably looks up and sees this grown ass dude with dreads like on the toilet. And I'm just like, I don't know how to respond. Like I feel like I don't know if to feel violated or to like to laugh because it was just the situation was just hysterical, right? Like literally the baby climbed under the door while I'm taking a shit. And I like kind of make a noise and then it kind of scares the baby and the baby like leaves real quick and like crawls out really fast. I was like, what even is this? And I hear the dad say like, "Oh no, I'm so sorry." And he's like yelling at the kid like, "Don't do that. Someone's in the bathroom." And I remember just thinking about that, like, wow, babies are just so free. Like, like no adult would do that. I'm not saying no adult will want to do that. There's peeping toms out here, but my thing is like no adult would just mindlessly do that. Like it just made me reflect about like how carefree babies are, how they just live life with like zero fear, how they're not programmed, how they're just just out here, tapped into their natural, curiosity and imagination. And it made me reflect on like my innocence and my days of that. And I just got like a huge, wave of like, nostalgia and just like, wanting to kind of go back to that space. So I kind of go about my day, and then like on the train ride back, I'm kind of thinking about that. Like, wow, that was just such a such a epiphany, such a eye opening, aspect of life that we often don't think about enough, right? So on my way back, and in contrast to that, like on the left part of my brain, I'm thinking about that, and on the right part, I'm thinking about how like 2 days ago, I go to Whole Foods, and on my way out, I bumped into one of my guys. His name is TJ, and I shake up. I'm like, "Yo, long time no see. What's up?" And he's like, "What's good?" And I'm like, me chilling. Just grateful to be alive, thankful, appreciative. Stuff like that, right? Grateful to be alive, thankful, appreciative. I'm saying I'm thriving, and then he's kind of just like, me, just barely getting by. You just like really low energy stuff, like yeah, above the water, like listen, keeping them bills paid. And then in the back of my head, I'm just like, man, that's what you looking forward to, like. I guess like in my head, I'm thinking that like, yeah, that's it, just staying above the ground, huh? Not in the hole, I was like, yeah, like I guess. But anywho, the first thing I noticed, just like, yeah, just the way people say how they feel is just so low energy. And the second thing I noticed, the first thing he's talking about is like the news. He was talking about, the abortion ruling thing, and Basically, it was like, it's crazy out here. You see the news. And I'm like, no, I don't see the news. And he's like, yeah, be safe out here. There was protesting and shit. So, what I'm saying? Like, just be careful. You feel me? I don't want to see you hurt and nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? Because you're a real good dude. And I'm like, thank you, thank you. And I'm just like, I appreciate it. And, we kind of shake up. I tell him, be safe. He tell me, be safe. And we go our separate ways. But on the way back, like, usually I have this carefree, bubbly vibe about me. I'm jittery. I'm jumping all over the place. But I'm not going to lie. Like, after he told me that kind of lowered my whole vibration. I'm now like thinking like, oh, I got to be safe out here. And it's just like sometimes people tell you to be safe, but it's definitely not their intention. But it makes you think about danger, right? And then you may not even be thinking about danger, but now you're thinking about danger. And it just got the gears in my head turning like wow, like on the train back after the baby experience. I'm just like, on one hand we have this carefree, bubbly, curious, like almost like mischievous, but in an innocent way, baby, free from anxiety, free from fear, just, piercing its way through life forcefully with its essence. And on this hand, we have this, grown, middle aged guy, you know, he's let life beat the fuck out of him and he's living in fear. And like the only relating point to talk to another person is he's trying to relate through pain. He's trying to relate through fear. And I'm just like, wow, like, yeah, we could relate. Yeah, we see the news, but it's like, why can't we talk about something else? Like, but this is the contrast. It's like from freedom to fear. And it just made me think like, wow, like how do we get to this point? And, I kind of went on this, like, I'm very curious and like, I just go like searching for answers when I have these kind of epiphany, transformational, ideas and concepts. And I stumbled upon this amazing video, this amazing YouTube, this amazing coach, YouTuber, and just like, a life coach. And his name is Myron Golden. And he had an amazing analogy for kind of explaining how certain people go through life in a positive way, in a hopeful way, in a optimistic way, where others go through life fearful and doubt and, scared to turn around every corner. And I just love, the analogy. And, I'm going to share it with you all. Hopefully you all can get value from it. Go watch his video. He explains it better. Essentially, his explanation of it was, you go to an art gallery, you look on the walls, you see pictures. Essentially, the pictures are facts, right? And the main core at this concept was, if the facts, basically, if the feeling is right, the facts don't matter, right? So I say that again. If the feeling is right, the facts don't matter. And I was like, okay, interesting. Let's dig into that. So, he digs into it, and I'm just like, yeah, that does make sense, because we see all the time, people justifying, splurging at IKEA, buying all this furniture, and then obviously that's not logical because their house is already junky, they're already hoarders, but then later on they justify it with logic. Or we see people, girls saying, oh, I'd never date a jerk, but then the next day you see them with Pookie and Ray Ray. Or people saying, they relapsed on their vegan diet on day 29, but they try to say, it wasn't really a relapse because the vegan diet was making them sick. So we definitely see people. The fact is they relapsed. The fact is they dated a jerk. The fact is they are hoarders, but the feeling felt good. The feeling at the moment, that jerk made her feel amazing. That IKEA furniture touched that person's heart. That piece of fried chicken at that moment was like singing to their soul. You feel me? So it painted a picture with a frame around it, and that frame was what decided that person to go over the facts, which is they relapsed, right? So essentially, how that person did it is he drew like a stick figure. You have a stick figure of a person. You have a picture and a frame. And on the person, you have like a set of eyes, a heart, and then some hands. And essentially, how it worked was, in life, facts are thrown our way. These facts could be a reality. Now we're broke. It could be we lost our job. The fact could be we're about to be a father. The fact could be we can't afford rent this month and have to move back at our parents' house. The fact could be anything. And the way humans work is we put a frame around that fact. And the frame, you ever been to the Art Institute? I live in Chicago. Every Thursday is free Art Institute Day. Anyone can go, any student can go, and you can look at this amazing, top tier art gallery for free. And one of the most amazing canvases they have is this beautiful canvas. And what draws my attention to it is just this amazing frame. It looks like it's made out of bone, right? And the frame is what pulls me into the picture. Yes, the picture is interesting, but the frame is what draws me in. They want me to focus. They want me to focus on that art piece. So the frame is our focus, right? So he dove into how our eyes look at the frame, and then between that distance is the focus. And he draws it how I might get a whiteboard to illustrate things. He draws it like on top of that eye beam, we have our focus can be expectation, right? Our focus can be faith, belief in something. And then on the bottom side of that, our focus can be doubt, the doubt of that thing. So if our focus on that frame is faith in something, right? Faith is the belief that something is good, is a belief that no matter what the facts are saying, it's going to be a positive outcome, right? Whereas doubt is the opposite of that. Doubt is no matter what the facts are saying, I'm going to see a negative outcome, right? And we see this all the time. We see people who do miraculous things. We see situations where like a house catches on fire and then a mother, lifts like a 2-ton piece of wood to go save her child. It doesn't make sense, right? The facts is the human body can't withstand that much stress, but the faith gave her energy to overcome that physical limitation. And we see the same thing with doubt, right? We see people who, are suffering. We see people who in situations where a building catches on fire, in situations where they're depressed, right? We see people or husbands who lose their wives, right? And we see this all the time. The husband may be healthy, completely healthy, no symptom with them, right? The moment they lose their wife, sometimes they die like a month later. And they just develop sicknesses because they didn't have doubt in their ability to live anymore. And that doubt in their ability to live anymore created the death. So both faith and doubt can bend reality, right? The reality says that if there's nothing wrong with you, you're completely healthy, you shouldn't just die a month later, out of depression or because you didn't have a will to live anymore. On the same token, the fact saying that you are a human being, you shouldn't be able to lift 2,000 pounds, right? But with faith, you do it. So essentially, doubt and faith, both of them are strong, but they're in polar opposites. And basically, both of them are a belief system and they can bend the facts. I just kind of wanted to, really explain that and hammer that in. Now, the next step he goes to is that is the level of your eyes, right? Is the faith and the doubt. Now, what happens is something funny here. So pay attention to this. He really explains it excellently. He says, so once it gets to your eyes, something happens where it creates this thing called anticipation and it goes to your heart, right? So it goes from faith, then from faith, it goes to your heart, and that creates anticipation in your heart, right? So anticipation is nothing more than, so it's past the belief stage. A belief is, okay, I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to look at this the right way. But anticipation is you put yourself in that future event and you've already seen the outcome, the favorable outcome. It's already happened in your heart. And it's in your heart because it's creating a feeling. It's creating a feeling of energy. It's creating a feeling of confidence about you that then propels the odds of you actually achieving that thing that the facts may not have been in your favor. Anticipation makes that seem like, oh, I expect, right? And anticipation is one of the strongest tools anyone who's trying to manifest things has at their disposal. Anticipation will take you from zero to hero, literally. It will take you from loser to cruising, right? In a ghost, cruising in a Lambo. And not to be materialistic, but just the power of anticipation is amazing. Just like personally, a situation where I use the power of anticipation is just the jogging thing. Remember the jogging situation that I had? Like, oh, I was kind of counting the smiles and like getting inside my head, like, well, I won't smile anymore. The whole anticipation thing is I just start anticipating that people are going to smile. I just start anticipating the very best from everybody. I just start anticipating that everybody is responding to me with their very best attitude, with their very best intentions all the time. And when I start processing that, even when I would see a frown, my anticipations would process that as, oh, they were frowning at somebody else. Oh, they were frowning because they were just shy and they didn't know how to respond. Or they were frowning because they just looked at their phone and saw a text. It wasn't at me. So I always anticipate that if it were at me, they had only the best vibes towards me. And because of that, I was able to what? Smile harder and smile effortlessly. Right now I'm smiling automatically because I see smiles coming at me even when I see frowns, if that makes sense. So that's the power of anticipation. Anticipation has the power to warp reality, right? It has the power to warp reality and magnify your energies so that your present moment does not define the future potential, if that makes sense. Anticipation is what makes the future potential limitless. That's what lets you move mountains, right? And that source of energy is literally what is going to mean the difference of your longevity in your career, your longevity in how long you're willing to sit through hard times, how just your stalwartness, right? How persistent and how long you can persevere through pain, how long you can persevere through misfortune is just your ability to frame things from a belief and from a faith standpoint and go into anticipation. The more you're in that state, the more you will be able to just have energy to manifest things. People ask me, how do I survive off of 5 hours of sleep every day? How do I wake up without an alarm lately, let me not jinx it, but like for the past week, that's been working, right? And it's just I wake up just so anticipating, like, what am I gonna eat? Like, I just get so happy. I just anticipating what it's gonna feel like when I go to the beach, right? And teach yoga class, right? And that feeling towards the end of the class when everybody is just feeling like they're floating and then they're taking away to another dimension, right? I visualize that when I wake up, and then even if I'm feeling tired or lethargic, that catapults my energy levels. That's the power of anticipation, right? The power of anticipation is I wake up in the morning, right? And I'm looking at that moment when I make the post of the video that I'm recording, the podcast episode I'm recording right now. I post that to social media and I write the caption, I write the hashtags, and then I see the people commenting and I see the people liking and saying how much that video helped them. That gives me a huge boost of it's almost like a drug, right? I almost feel like I should be paying for it. That's the power of anticipation, right? Now, on the flip side of that, you have anxiety. So anxiety comes from the back end of when your frame is doubt, right? Doubt goes to the head, goes to the eyes, and then from the eyes, once the eyes process doubt, it goes into registers into the heart as a feeling of anxiety. And anxiety does exactly the opposite of what anticipation does. It drains your energy. Just like I could wake up in the morning looking at how all these things are going to make me feel a certain way, and I'm confident that they are because they've made me feel that way in the past, right? So I can expect that to happen in the future. Anxiety is, oh, I'm looking at doubt. So I'm looking at things that went bad in the past, right? Or here's a catch. And here's what's really bad about today's day and age. You don't even have to have a bad experience now to have anxiety. You can look at the news or you can look at social media, right? And social media can make somebody who looks like you or make somebody who you relate to have a similar bad experience. And then over time, that kind of stews in and makes this gumbo of fear and anxiety so that you will also have anxiety over something that you've never even done before, over an ability that you may even be good at, an ability that you may even be great at. But because you've been programmed to think, well, I look like this, so people like me don't do things like that, or I didn't get that cert, so yeah, to even do that is foolish, a waste of time, right? So because of that, you block your energy from doing things that you would even be great at. And just I realized anxiety is one of the biggest illusions of today's day and age, right? It's different from fear because if you think about fear, what is fear? Ralph Smart says fear is false evidence appearing real. To an extent, I like that. That does sound nice. I do like reframing words to take the power out of them. So keep doing that. I will say to an extent though, fear has a purpose, right? You don't want to go into the middle of the highway with your fingers crossed. There's a reason you don't do that. Fear. Don't do that. You might get hit by a car. There's a reason you don't, you know, stick your head out the window, right? When like you're coming close to a truck on the highway, like you don't do that. You might lose your head. There's a reason you don't jump into the ocean bleeding. You might get eaten by sharks. So like fear has a purpose, right? However, anxiety is an illusion in my opinion because anxiety is usually not an immediate fear, not something that is immediately threatening you, right? It's either separated from you by space or separated from you by time, right? So what's the case of in a case of anxiety is, right? A case of anxiety is I might lose my job because the boss hasn't talked to me in a long time. She talked to X, she talks to Y, she talked to person Z, but she didn't talk to me in a while. Or I think that I'm not going to get this promotion that I'm about to ask for because as a manager, my boss gave everybody bigger offices and she gave me a smaller office. So I don't think I'm going to get that raise that I'm going to ask for. You see how that's an anxiety? The anxiety, there's no proof. There's no proof that because she gave you a smaller office, that's why she doesn't like you or that's why you're not going to get a raise. But what does anxiety do? The anxiety goes into your imagination, so it uses the bad part of your imagination to conjure up and overthink all these scenarios of reasons of why the negative result is what's going to happen. So what happens is you're over there pondering and pontificating over, oh, how this is gonna happen, how X is gonna happen, oh, how she's gonna say this, and you visualize. Let's be real. Anxiety is actually negative visualization. I bet that's the first time you heard of that. We talk about visualization sometimes. Anxiety is negative visualization. And you know what's crazy? It takes us effort, conscious effort to visualize positively. But you know what's wild? We negatively visualize by default. And I feel like that is something that's programmed into us to negatively visualize. And that is just proof when you have a lot of anxiety and things don't go your way, that is actually proof that manifestation is real and visualization does work, right? Because how many times do we negatively visualize, i.e., have anxiety, right? And then things go exactly the way we thought, right? So say we go back to that example, like, okay, my boss gave Timmy a big office. My boss gave Stacy, she gave her the corner office, and now she gave me this tiny, 200 by 200 square feet office. She doesn't like me, right? So I go home and then I have a dream that same night about how the next morning, how I'm going to walk up to her, ask her for the raise, and how she's going to give me XYZ reasons, and then go over this long list of why I don't deserve the raise, right? And I wake up and then I think about that for another hour, right, on the drive to work, right? And then while I'm making my coffee, right, while I'm having cooler talk, I'm thinking about in the back of my head how like, oh yeah, it's getting close to that time I'm about to ask, to the point where it's finally the time that I'm gonna ask her for the raise. One of two things happens. I done talk myself out of it by the time the time has arrived. And which is even worse, I don't even do it because at that point I'm such in my nerves and so convinced that it's not gonna go my way, I don't even do it. And that's 10 times worse than at least still trying. Or B, I still go there and do it, but I'm not confident. My energy's low. I'm kind of asking like, basically like, you can give me a raise if you want to give me a raise, but I don't want to bother you. I don't want to get in your hair. Like if it's convenient for you, give me a raise. Those type of people, and it's just like, of course she's not gonna give you a fucking raise because like you don't even want the raise, right? Your actions and your words aren't aligning. Your words are saying you want the raise, but your body language is like, I don't really want the raise. Like you can give it to me if you want to, but like so what happens? You end up manifesting that outcome, right? And you don't get the raise. And what does that do on the back end? That convinces the negative part of your brain that, see, I knew you were right. I knew you couldn't get it. So that shuts down, like, in the future, you being more confident and trusting yourself because you're going to have that overwhelming evidence of like, I even tried in the past. Even when I had terrible anxiety, I still tried and I still fail. So every time you try and fail whilst not actually dealing with the anxiety, which is just going back to the way you're always doubting things, which is then going back to the way you're framing things. But if you just cut corners and keep being somebody who constantly doubts and then blaming or using the fact that, see, I still try and things don't work out as evidence as to why you're not getting desired results, right? You are going to continue to spiral down that negative spiral until you eventually give up. And then that's where you have people like incels. That's where you have people like the black pill community. That's where you have people like, I don't want to say men going their own way, but that's where you have people like, the school shooters, right? Or people who just commit extreme atrocious acts, right? And then I know the black pill community is going to attack me for grouping them with them, but I'm not going to lie. I feel like obviously incels and black pill community, it's not to that extent, but it is on the path of that because it's like nihilism. It's like, what's the point of life then, right? Because it's like everything I do gets shot down. Why even live? And then once you stop valuing your life, it's easy to not value someone else's life, and that's where this fucked up shit happens. So I say all this to say, right? you know really look into your frames, really look into how you are processing the world before you try to do a certain result, before you try to say these this quick fix, or or sleep this certain, don't sleep on your stomach because that makes you have negative thoughts, or before you try to change your diet, or before drop $999 on this coach that is going to transform your life, right? Or before go on this marriage retreat, to promise to fix your marriage, or before you hire, this, expensive financial advisor, which is going to tell you how to spend your money better. Before you do that shit, before you do anything, right? Stop looking at doing and look into being. Look into what kind of person are you first, because the being comes before the doing, right? And then the doing goes towards the having, right? So if you're not having happiness in your life, if you're not having good relationships in your life, if you're not having wealth in your life, it's because of the doing, right? And then the doing is not, you don't change it at the doing. Every change happens at the higher level. So if you want to change the having, you have to change the doing. What are you doing wrong, right? But before you can change what you're doing wrong, you have to change the being. What kind of person are you? Are you a negative person? Are you an optimistic person? Are you a cynical person? Are you a low energy person, right? First, you have to identify what person you are. And then from there, you can work at not the doings to change that. You can work at the frames, right? The way you are looking at the world, right? That's a whole other video of, frames, how to change the way you look at the world, things that you can, to do. Because I do believe once you know the being that it takes, there are certain doings that you can do to help. Because over time, doing becomes your being. That's how habits form, and habits become you over time. But if just trying to do things at the do level to get a certain result isn't going to fix it, because at the core, you're still being that same person that is not able to produce what you want at the highest level. I hope that didn't like confuse you all more. And yeah, I just hope this helps somebody who's kind of just been in an existential space of mind lately. Find some clarity as to why, they just keep manifesting, kind of the same mediocre results out of life. And yeah, if you like this format of episode where I kind of just go balls to the wall, philosophical, scientific, let me know. I have a background in physics and engineering. I would love to talk more about the ties between science and like, self improvement and psychology. It's really interesting to me. And yeah, I just hope this helped. And yeah, as always, stay hydrated, stay breathing in this good ass oxygen, and most importantly, stay basic. I love you.